Have you ever said something so real that it didn't just make her smile, it made her heart beat harder and her mind go quiet? When a man speaks from calm power, not ego, her defense lower, her curiosity spikes, and without knowing why, she leans in. Picture this. She's confident, in control. But one sentence, one quiet phrase, shifts the entire energy. Her eyes soften, her posture changes, and suddenly, the air between you feels different. You didn't raise your voice. You didn't try to impress. You simply spoke from a deeper place, and something in her reacted. That's not manipulation. That's emotional gravity, the kind that doesn't shout, but pulls her in like a current. She can't fight. Most men never discover this, because they're too focused on saying what sounds good, instead of what feels true. But Stoic men speak differently. They don't aim to impress. They aim to reveal. They don't try to be perfect. They try to be present. This video is not about tricks or tactics. It's about 5 phrases that, when spoken in the right moment, can stir a woman's mind and echo in her body. Because attraction doesn't live in compliments. It lives in connection. And true connection only happens when you speak from clarity, restraint, and truth. If you've ever felt like women forget you too quickly, if you're tired of talking but never leaving an impression, if you want to stop chasing and start attracting, then this is for you. And if that resonates, do one thing: subscribe. Not because I asked, but because something in you is done playing small. Support this message, and let's help more men speak from the strength that can't be faked. Let's begin. Phrase 1. You have a unique way about you. I like that. She's heard them all. Nice smile. You look amazing tonight. You're really pretty. Compliments like that feel good, but they don't stay, because they're safe, they're easy, and they're everywhere. Most men compliment what's visible, what's obvious, what's already been noticed 1,000 times. But you say something different. You look her in the eye, after a real moment, and you say, calmly, like you just discovered something rare, you have a unique way about you. I like that. And everything slows down. Not because the words are flashy, but because they're layered. They leave space. They invite her in. This isn't a compliment. It's a mirror, and it reflects something she didn't know you could see. It's not about her beauty. It's about her energy, her way, the rhythm of her presence. You're not praising, you're recognizing, and that hits different, because recognition speaks to something far deeper than attraction. It speaks to value, to essence. Most women feel emotionally invisible. Sure, they're seen, but rarely are they felt. Rarely do they encounter a man who notices the subtle details. The way her face changes when she talks about what she loves, how she gestures when she's passionate, the pause she takes before saying something vulnerable. You have a unique way about you. It's vague on purpose, not unclear, just open-ended. It creates space in her mind, and that space gets filled with questions. What did he notice? Was it the way I laughed? Was it how I told that story? And the moment you've created, it lingers. It lingers because it wasn't about seduction. It wasn't about approval. It was about observation. Observation is rare, because most people aren't really present. They're waiting to talk. They're performing. But when you truly see someone, without needing anything from them, you become unforgettable. Now here's the secret. You don't explain it. Don't follow it up. Don't try to soften it or clarify. Just let it breathe. Let the silence do what words can't. Let her imagination lean into it. Because curiosity is attraction in disguise. That one phrase opens a loop in her mind. And because the loop isn't closed, she keeps coming back to it, coming back to you. Not out of confusion, but connection. She'll start to show you more, say more, reveal more. Why? Because someone finally noticed her soul, not just her surface. That's rare. And women crave rarity. It doesn't matter how good you look, how much money you make, or how charming your jokes are. If you can't make her feel seen, you'll always be forgettable. But if you can, if your presence carries that quiet awareness, she'll replay that moment. She'll remember the tone, the timing, the pause between your words. And she'll wonder, what else does he see in me? Here's when to say it. Not in the first 5 minutes. Not while distracted. Not while chasing her approval. Say it after she shows you something real. Not perfect. Real. Maybe she shares a childhood memory. Maybe she gets animated while talking about a project she loves. Maybe she makes a quirky joke that most people wouldn't notice. That's the moment. You don't say it to impress. You say it because you genuinely feel it. And when you do, keep your body language calm, still, grounded. Hold her gaze just a little longer and say it like it just hit you. You have a unique way about you. I like that. Then stop. Don't explain. Don't over-smile. Don't ruin the weight of the silence. Because that silence, that space, that's where the connection blooms. That's where she leans in, not with her body, but with her guard down. You've stepped out of the category of nice guy, out of the blur of predictable compliments, and into the category of, I don't know what it is about him, but I felt something. You didn't flatter her, you saw her. And that is what every woman secretly wants. Not to be admired like a statue, but to be seen like a story. Phrase 2. I like women who know what they want. Most men speak to impress. Few speak to filter. That's what makes this phrase powerful. It isn't a compliment. It's a quiet challenge, a subtle shift in power, and it flips the dynamic more than most men ever realize. You're not just saying you admire confidence, you're stating a standard, a boundary, a value. Most men, especially when they're attracted to a woman, start performing. They smile too much, agree too quickly, laugh at things that aren't funny. They bend, not because they're weak, but because they think that's what works. They try to get picked, not realizing that trying to be chosen is the fastest way to lose value. But when you look at a woman, calm, grounded, and unapologetic, and you say, I like women who know what they want, everything shifts. You're no longer asking to be accepted. You're letting her know she's being measured too. And whether she says it or not, something stirs inside her. Because now the question becomes, do I meet his standard? It's subtle but profound. You're no longer chasing, you're choosing. That single shift is magnetic, not because it's cocky, but because it signals clarity, and clarity is rare. Most men are vague. They don't know what they want in a woman, so they settle for anyone who gives them attention. But a man with standards, a man who says what he values and lives by it, he becomes the one women remember, not because he's loud, but because he's anchored. This phrase, if used right, sends that message effortlessly. Not I like girls who play hard to get, not I want someone sweet, but I like women who know what they want. Simple, clear, unapologetic. You're not qualifying yourself, you're filtering. And women don't get filtered often. They're used to being chased, not held to a frame. That's why this line hits different, because suddenly It's not about whether you impress her. It's about whether she aligns with what you respect. And here's what makes it work. You don't say it early. You don't say it to manipulate. You wait for the right moment. When she shows a flash of leadership, confidence, direction. Maybe she takes charge of the plans. Maybe she orders boldly at a restaurant. Maybe she shares a vision of what she wants in life and speaks it like she means it. That's your moment. You don't say it with excitement. You don't say it with flirtation. You say it with stillness, akiet nod, and eye contact that doesn't blink. I like women who know what they want. Then, pause. Let it sit. Let her mind process what just happened. Let her curiosity build, because now she's wondering, does he see that in me? Am I showing up the way he values? And that tension, that self-reflection, that's what makes her lean in, not just physically, but mentally, emotionally, energetically. You've stepped out of the chaser role and into the role of the man who chooses. That doesn't mean arrogance. It means standards. And when you have standards, you can't fake it. Because if you say this line and then chase after someone who doesn't know what they want, you lose all credibility. So if you speak this truth, you must stand behind it. If she's indecisive, if she sends mixed signals, if she lacks direction, don't reward it. Don't chase it. Don't explain yourself. Let your silence be the response, because that silence reinforces everything your words carried. And when a woman feels that consistency, that your words and actions align, she trusts it, she feels it, and most importantly, she respects it, because she sees that you're not trying to win her over. You're trying to see if she fits into your life, your values, your direction. That energy is what turns nice guys into men she can't ignore, not because they're flashy, but because they're firm, not rigid. Firm, flexible in kindness, but non-negotiable in standards. That's attractive because it's rare. Most men try to adapt to her. You're asking, can she walk beside me? And that's what this phrase communicates at its core. I like women who know what they want. It tells her that you value direction, that you respect clarity, and that you only give your time to someone who brings that same energy into your world. It's not a test, it's a revelation. And when used with grounded presence, it creates attraction that lingers long after the words fade. Phrase 3. That's what I like most about you. Some words feel like compliments. Others feel like recognition. And this one feels like both. Not because it flatters, but because it reflects. You're not praising what's obvious. You're pointing to something deeper, something real. When a man looks at a woman, not just to admire her, but to see her, that's when the moment shifts. That's when attraction becomes emotional. And that's where this phrase lives. That's what I like most about you. Said slowly, said meaningfully, said when the moment calls for it. Not after she looks good, not after she says something clever, but after she shows you something genuine, a flash of compassion, a fire of ambition, a moment of quiet courage. That's when you say it, not with excitement, but with presence, because the power of this phrase isn't in what it says, it's in what it sees. And when a woman feels seen, not just for how she looks, but for how she moves through life, she doesn't forget that feeling. Most men don't offer that. They compliment her smile, her body, her outfit, and sure, those things are nice, but they're not rare. Every man notices what's on the surface. Few see what's beneath it. That's what makes you different, because you're not just observing, you're understanding. You're reflecting something she may not even realize about herself. And when you name it, Without over-explaining it, you plant a seed in her mind, a seed of value, a seed of emotional impact. Let's take an example. She's telling you about her work, but not just the title or the role. She's talking about the why behind it. Maybe it's about helping others. Maybe it's about creating something meaningful. Maybe it's about rising above where she came from. And in that moment, she's not performing. She's not trying to impress. She's just being real. That's when you pause. You hold her gaze, and with calm certainty, you say, "That's what I like most about you. The way you care so deeply, it's real. It's rare." Then stop. Don't soften it. Don't explain it. Let the silence carry the weight. That silence is everything. Because in that pause, she doesn't just hear your words. She feels them. And what she feels isn't flattery. It's significance. You just touched a part of her that most men never even look for. And now, she associates that feeling with you. That's how connection begins. Not through effort, but through recognition. You didn't chase her attention. You acknowledged her depth, and that shift, it rewires the dynamic. Now she's drawn to you. Not because you tried to impress her, but because you noticed something no one else did. That's what emotional imprinting looks like. That's what sets you apart. But timing is everything. You don't say this line just to say it. You don't use it on everyone. You don't rush it. You wait until she reveals something real. Maybe she helps someone quietly, not for credit, just because it matters. Maybe she shows determination, but hides it behind humility. Maybe she shares something vulnerable, and you see strength where others might see weakness. That's when this phrase matters most, because then it's not a tactic, it's a mirror. And when you mirror something true, it changes how she sees herself. That's the real power. You didn't just describe her, you helped her discover something in her through your stillness, through your observation, through your choice to name it. Then let it breathe. It's easy to say you're beautiful. It takes no courage to say you're smart, but it takes attention to slow down and say, "That right there, that's what I like most about you." And that moment, that sentence, that silence will echo long after you're gone, because it left something with her, a reflection, a recognition, a feeling of being deeply seen. And that's the kind of attraction that doesn't fade when you're not around. That's the kind of man she remembers, not the one who tried to win her, but the one who witnessed her, not the one who praised the surface, but the one who saw the soul. Phrase 4. I don't know if you can handle me. Most men try to make themselves easy to love. They hide their complexity, soften their fire, shrink their edges. They want to be liked, not feared, not misunderstood, just liked. So they act predictable, agreeable, safe. But safe doesn't spark desire. Safe doesn't make her lean in. Safe doesn't make her wonder what else lies beneath the surface. You weren't born to be safe. So when the moment comes, and she's teasing, testing, maybe even posturing a little, you don't respond with validation. You don't try to impress. You lean back, hold eye contact, and say, calmly, I don't know if you can handle me. And suddenly, you've shifted the frame, because you didn't challenge her directly. You didn't push. You didn't posture. You just left a door slightly open, a door that leads somewhere unfamiliar. And now she wants to see what's on the other side. This phrase doesn't scream confidence. It whispers it. It doesn't say, I'm difficult. It says, I'm not for everyone, and I don't need to be. That's powerful, because most men want to be accepted. You're reminding her, you don't chase acceptance. And that's where the attraction builds. Because she thought she was challenging you. She thought she had the upper hand, until you reminded her that you are not someone who plays to win approval. You don't offer all of yourself up front. You don't hand out your attention like candy. You keep something for yourself. And that mystery, it lingers, because now she's not certain. And that uncertainty stirs curiosity. And curiosity is the seed of desire. What does she think she might not be able to handle? Your intensity, your silence, your unwillingness to fold. Maybe it's your purpose. Maybe it's your discipline. Maybe it's the fact that you don't flinch when tested. She doesn't know, but she wants to find out. And now, she's investing emotionally, energetically. But here's the part that matters most. You can't just say it. You have to live it. Because if you follow that line, by chasing her approval, by explaining yourself, by softening your stance, then you are bluffing, and she'll feel it. But if you stand grounded, if you stay calm, if you say little and let her wonder, then the phrase carries weight. Because now, it's not a tactic, it's a truth. You really do live with intensity. You really are selective. You're not cold. You're just clear. You're not defensive. You're just unwilling to compromise who you are. For someone who hasn't earned access to that depth, that's rare. Most men give themselves away too quickly. You don't. So when you say, "I don't know if you can handle me," you're not testing her ego. You're protecting your essence. You're letting her know, this space you live in, it's not easy. It's not for the faint. It's not for the ones who only want comfort. It's for the ones who crave real, who can sit with intensity, who won't ask you to dim your light, just to keep the peace. This phrase is not a trick. It's a filter, and once you speak it, you stand behind it, silently, calmly, without apology, because the moment she hears it, her instinct is to lean in, to test it, to explore the tension. And if you hold your ground, if you say nothing more, she'll feel everything. Not because you forced it, but because you dared to be something most men aren't. Untamed, unapologetic, unfolded. You didn't offer yourself in a box with a bow. You offered a riddle with a heartbeat. And that's the man she remembers. Not the one who played it safe, but the one she still doesn't fully understand. Phrase 5. I'm not that easy. Some men give themselves away too quickly. One compliment, one glance, one playful smile from a woman, and suddenly they're performing, trying to impress, trying to be liked, trying to prove they're good enough. But when you do that, you become a product. You put yourself on her shelf and wait to be chosen. She becomes the judge. You become the contestant. And in that moment, you've already lost the frame. But a man who knows his value, a man who doesn't rush to be liked, doesn't hand out his attention like it's nothing. He creates a different kind of energy. Not cold, not arrogant, but still firm, centered. He's the one who, when teased, flirted with, or tested, simply smiles and says calmly, "I'm not that easy." And that line, said with presence, not pride, rewrites the entire dynamic. Because now, she's unsure, not confused, not rejected, just unsure if she can win you so easily. And that uncertainty is magnetic, because most men give in, most men melt. Most men bend at the first sign of female approval, but you don't. You hold, you stay still, not to prove anything, but because you have nothing to prove. You know who you are. You know what you offer. You know that your attention, your time, and your presence are not cheap. They have to be earned, And when you say, "I'm not that easy," you're saying all of that without saying too much. It's not a joke. It's not a tactic. It's a truth. You don't get excited just because someone's interested. You don't chase validation. You don't collapse into flattery. You pause. You observe. You filter. That's the difference. Because women are used to being pursued. They're used to being chased. They're used to men folding instantly. So when you don't, when you hold your ground, it shakes something. It creates friction. The good kind, the kind that sparks effort. She starts wondering, what's his standard? What does he see in me? Why isn't he leaning in like the others? That reflection creates curiosity. And that curiosity créate poursuit. Let's be clear. This phrase isn't about being difficult. It's about being disciplined. You're not playing games. You're living by principle. And when a woman senses that, she responds differently. She leans in. She listens more closely. She starts investing energy instead of just receiving it. That's the shift. But here's the key. Don't overuse it. Don't make it a routine line. Use it when it's real. When she makes a bold move. When she flirts with confidence. When she pushes to see your reaction. That's your moment. Not to push back, but to stand still, to smile, to hold the silence, to say, "I'm not that easy," and let it breathe. No follow-up, no nervous laughter, no over-explaining, just stillness, because that's where the power is. Not in the words, but in what they represent. They represent boundaries, standards, self-respect. You're not rejecting her. You're just not handing yourself over for nothing. She has to show depth. She has to bring something more than just looks or charm. Because your world is not a place anyone gets into just because they smiled. It takes more. And when you speak that truth, when you embody it, you rise above the noise. You're no longer part of the crowd. You become the man who makes her pause, who makes her reflect, who makes her try harder, not because you asked, but because you required more, without saying it, without demanding it, just by holding your line. And that line is simple. I'm not that easy. You've just learned 5 simple phrases, but they're not tricks. They're reminders of who you are. When you stop chasing, when you stop performing, when you start speaking from clarity, not need. And that's where power lives. Not in louder words, but in still presence. You don't need more lines. You need fewer compromises. Because the right woman won't be drawn to the man who tries the hardest. She'll be drawn to the one who says little, but means it, who speaks from calm, from depth, from discipline. If this spoke to something deep in you, that quiet strength waiting to rise, let it. Like this video, subscribe to this channel, and share it with a man who's tired of being forgettable and ready to be unforgettable. Because real magnetism doesn't chase, it chooses.